Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. I'm so glad you joined us to stay curious today. Got Marty Winkel on our Streamlabs board here on a Thursday, August 29th, 2024. We're going to talk about Neptune. This big old cantaloupe behind me here is one of the most fascinating objects in the solar system. We'll talk about that. Why are we talking about Neptune? Because man's only snapshot of it close up was made in 1989. All right, carry the one 36 years ago. The only time we've seen the eighth and final planet, because Pluto's a dwarf planet. And so it's fun to talk about that. Uh, Marty, I didn't bring up I didn't do what I need to do to prepare for our birthdays today. We got two astronaut birthdays. That's okay. I'll read them off my phone here. One, our great friend Charlie Walker's birthday's today, and we're going to talk about that and just have a little bit of fun. As far as don't get eyes glazed over, I'm talking about Neptune. I want to talk about it in regard of like you'll never see it. Okay, I've only seen it about 5 or 6 times through a telescope. It's really hard to find. It's really far away. It's really fascinating. Here it is right there. It has the fastest winds in the solar system, up to 5,000 miles an hour. That's a level 300 hurricane or something like that. And uh, it has potentially diamonds on it. All right, I teased that on Facebook. We're going to talk about Lucy in the sky with diamonds, but on Neptune and probably the first planet, Mercury, has a layer of uh, diamonds on it. So uh, let me get up here just so I can talk intelligent to everybody about the birthdays today. By the way, thank you, Steve Jokums. I am wearing a beautiful hat that he sent me. Steve, thank you so much. This is a really something that he bought in Maranello in Italy, the headquarters of Ferrari. That's my favorite team in the Formula One circuit. They're in Monza this weekend. Steve, you're a big fan, and once he realized I was, we started talking Formula One trash, and he sent me this hat. And you know, Marty, I know you feel the same way, Marty. We have made some tremendous friends through this Stay Curious program. All right. It is just incredible the friendships like Steve Jokums. Though I've only met him once during our Shuttle Fest days, he's just like a friend I've known for many years. And the UCAC brothers, Chris Calley, you, Hazel Banks, watching just so many of you, Doug Forrest. It's just a joy to have met you all through this program as you're trying to help our museum grow. You support this, and yes, we're going to talk about that we have a funeral this weekend. And there will be some things changing here at the American Space Museum, and we may have to reconfigure Stay Curious because of some of those changes. But it's been a great run. Stay Curious ain't going anywhere. We'll have it, but we may have to cut back on the number of times. Who knows? But to support our museum, we've got an auction. The Bid Again auction supports our program here. Chuck Jeffrey, call that number if you have memorabilia that you want to sell. I don't care where you are in the world. Send a picture to Chuck, and he'll tell you what it's worth. You might have a Neil Armstrong autograph that you're wondering, is this really real? Take a couple good close-up pictures of it, and I guarantee you Chuck will give you a good idea that it isn't real. It's easier to spot the ones that aren't than the ones that are authentic under some regards there. So let's see here. All right, I got my astronauts lined up here I can talk about with my cheat sheet here. Uh, Auction is a week from Saturday. You can go now to our auction page at the American Space Museum website, and it'll take you to the auction center where you can see these uh, it's artifacts and start bidding on them now. We'll talk about that next week leading up to the September 7th auction. I've not looked at it yet, Marty. Have you?
Yeah.
It's rich in art from we're supposed to have Nicole Stott, astronaut, some artwork of hers on there. Anyway, I'll preview it with other things going on at the museum. I haven't, but I know one thing. I've never seen that Snoopy patch. Okay. And that's probably worth a good $200, $300, $400 right there. So that's the kind of stuff on there. Of course, Karen Conklin's funeral will be Saturday, and 65 years old when she died of cancer about 3 weeks ago. There she is with her beloved Yorkie Terriers. And, it's hard to talk about Karen without getting too emotional about it. As every day goes by that I'm not walking down the hall to go in her office, it's just an empty feeling, folks. So I know you can all appreciate that. But Saturday will be her wake. We'll announce that again tomorrow. It's on Facebook where to see. It's North Brevard Funeral Home, and they'll have a live broadcast of that. Tomorrow we will have these gentlemen from Via Space, Josh Dujan and Rick Powis. Okay, Josh was a speaker at Shuttle Fest representing Via Space. Remember him and his wife up at our Friday meet and greet. We're looking forward to celebrating the 21st century on future Fridays. And Josh is, let me go there to make that smaller there. Via Space is a company that uses plastic for fuel and builds 3D rockets and engines and so forth. They are just about 30 miles from where I'm sitting in Cocoa, Florida, their headquarters, and we're going to catch up with them. How close are they to start orbiting, or not orbiting, yes, low Earth payloads. So Josh Dujan and Rick Prowess, we're looking forward to you being on Stay Curious tomorrow. Happy birthday. Didn't put my hat, I'm going to take this hat off and put my hat on for this guy. As Charlie Walker, okay? The one and only Charlie Walker in so many ways. This is one of the astronauts that's captured our hearts here at the museum. We've probably taken Charlie out to dinner 4 times, I think, now. So he'll be back in October looking for another free meal. And, of course, he's always so generous that he wants to pay. But, you meet some of these astronauts, and I can't make it akin to like a high school of 300 people. And maybe you've been lucky to hang out with 50 of those people at the high school. You don't know all the astronauts. There's over 300 of them in America. And, we've got our share that understand what we're doing here at the American Space Museum and embrace it wholeheartedly. And Charlie Walker's one of those. We've done a couple programs with him on Stay Curious. You want to check that out. 3-time flyer. Happy 76th birthday to you, my friend. Born August 29th, 1948 in Bedford, Indiana. A proud Hoosier and Purdue Boilermaker graduate. The first non-government person to fly in space. And as you see, he did it 3 times in a short 17-month span. The quickest that any astronaut's gone up. All right. And this was the alphabet soup. Numbering system there that he flew. STS-41D, which he loves talking about Judy Resnick that he's standing beside there. And then 51D was that the abort, the pucker factor one, where they had an engine shut down, and then 61B. And each time Charlie went up to run what was called an electrophoresis machine, okay? He trained astronauts on STS-4, 6, 7, and 8 for the operation of an electrophoresis machine, which he invented, a biomedical apparatus which separates things through electronics, okay, can separate things in cell structures and things like that, to put it very simply. He was the most skilled operator and tried to teach all the astronauts how to use it. It quickly become apparent that that's too tedious for them to do. All right. There's Charlie's space flown. I'm going to get back to Charlie here, but yeah, too tedious to do. Let me stay on that. So NASA decided, why don't you fly to operate the complex machinery himself, and then the astronaut that had been assigned to that, or 2 of them, could do other things. And that's what he did. And he was ready to go to space again, and he said my wife kind of put her foot down. 3 launches in 2 years, less than 2 years, was a big strain on my wife and the family. So, and one question I asked Charlie was, where did you keep your astronaut pin? His gold astronaut pin. Did you keep it in your sock drawer or your wife's jewelry box? Ha ha ha. And Marty, the look he gave me when I interviewed him that day was like I told him his dog died. He said, well, Mark, I don't have one. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I'm a payload specialist. We weren't astronauts in an astronaut class. We were company astronauts that went up. So we didn't qualify for a pin. And I go, a little hunk of jewelry they're not going to give you? And then he started talking about, but the Association of Space Explorers pin, I helped design that. And how do you get in the Association of Space Explorers? You're asking Dave Stange up there in Michigan? Simple. You just have to orbit the Earth one time. So let's talk a little more about Charlie Walker here because we can. When I went to the offices of the National Space Society yesterday, we had Bert Dick talking to us yesterday. Bert had a great show. He took us out to North Dakota to a Minuteman silo. So reprise that, and we have Bert on every month. He is the membership director for the National Space Society. Anyway, when I went there to visit Bert one time, I saw on the wall was this letter from Charlie Walker and Charlie's space flown membership card for the National Space Society is what that's all about there. So, you hang out with these astronauts, a few of them, men and women. They're just like you and me, of course. They've got the same problems. Marty, I'm going to make you bigger there. Don't resist hitting that big button there, my buddy Marty.
Make it smaller.
Nope. I'm going to fight you on that. That was a day where you're looking exceptionally well, Marty. Not that he looks the same every day. Behind the two are the hatch covers that were on the last 3 shuttle missions that Mike Leinbach loaned us. How cool is that? Signed by the closeout crew, as well as the astronauts that flew that mission. So Charlie loves talking. He is a very intelligent man. He came in with this Schroeder's cat tease on there. Schroeder's cat walks into the bar or it doesn't. And you'll have to have a few psychological lessons to learn that. But there, he was holding a astronaut signed shuttle that we sold in an auction. And there he is having dinner with us. Was that Chinese place? Asian house with Connie McDaniel behind me, and there is Anita Truex, our ace office manager, and so much more. And Nick Thomas joined us there, the astronaut wranglers. So I like that picture of our group there. And there's Charlie on one of our podcasts that we did here. So you'll want to check him out. Just Google the name of anybody that you think that we interviewed. Probably done over a dozen astronauts and probably 125 space workers, Marty. I'll have to add that up. So happy birthday to Bedford, Indiana's proud native son, Charlie Walker there. So we got another birthday. Let me pull that up. Put my hat on while I do it there. Got Neptune and Triton right there. We got up next is Tom Mashburn. All right. And happy 63rd birthday to Tom Marshburn, oldest spacewalker at age 61. About 2 years ago, he was on the Expedition 66 crew, as you see there. They kind of took a Highway 66 theme sign there for their expedition. Veteran of 3 space flights, and I love this. He is one of the handful of humans that have flown a NASA space shuttle. That was STS-127 in 2009, a Russian Soyuz spacecraft, and in 2013 on Expedition 35, and a SpaceX Dragon, as he's shown in there. That's a cool picture. I've never seen of anybody like that in the Dragon. 338 days in space, 5 spacewalks, and the last time he did it, he was 61 years old. I don't know if that'll be eclipsed soon or ever, probably will. 65-year-old who's up on the space station right now? I knew I was going to start saying that and forget his name. I'll find it here. We got 65-year-old. Yeah, someone's going to tell me before I find it, probably. Up there with Sonny and Bush. Michael Barrett. Yeah, Michael Barrett, 65 years old. And he's been up on that almost 400 days now, total in space on his mission. So Mashburn, Marty, I'd like to meet him, but you know what? I'm going to ask Mike Baker, when we see him at the end of October out to Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. I'm going to ask if he knows Marshburn, because Marshburn worked out at the Russian Space Operation Program in 96 and 97 as the flight surgeon to our astronauts going up to the space station on the Soyuz rocket. And that's the same, I know Bakes knows him, so we'll try to get a story out of him from him. Marshburn was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and he went to Davidson College in North Carolina. I know where that's at. He went to Wake Forest also. Actually, he was born in Statesville, North Carolina, but grew up in Atlanta. And then he went back to North Carolina where his family was. Statesville, North Carolina. I know a couple of astronomers there. In fact, we share Ronnie Sherrill's photography once in a while from Statesville. Hi, Ronnie. Anyway, Marshburn, smart guy, a doctor, and he is now working with Sierra Corporation on their Starliner that has now gone from crewed to uncrewed, but that doesn't matter. So, all right, happy birthday to you, Tom Marshburn, and hope we can meet you someday out there. All right, finally on Stay Curious, talk a little bit about Neptune, the farthest planet from the sun, almost 3 billion miles away on the average. Takes light 4 hours to reach us, yet it's so far away that only once have we ever seen photographs of it up close. That was when in 1989, when a launch at Cape Canaveral 7 years earlier flew by it with the Voyager 2 spacecraft. Now, back in the 1970s, it was realized by the great astronomer Carl Sagan and others that the planets were lining up in our solar system to where one spacecraft could go to Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All right. In one grand tour, they called it, the Grand Tour. Now, when you see this hokum on your Facebook or your news feed that the planets are lining up, all right, they're always lining up in our night sky, but that's just a perspective of like lining up a bunch of telephone poles that happen to be lined up in the direction you're looking. Very rarely do they actually line up in a way that they're you could like shoot a pool cue and hit one and it run into the other ones. So this was going to happen in the 70s and 80s, and so NASA took advantage of that with 2 spacecraft. I believe Star Trek, the first movie, was based on Voyager finding it. These spacecraft have now left our solar system. They are over 12 billion with a B miles away from their home on Earth. Have left the influence of the sun's gravity, we think. Both are still sending back data occasionally. We'd love to see pictures of them, but they don't have those kind of cameras on there. But Voyager 2, Voyager 1 was actually diverted from Uranus and Neptune because the moon Titan of Saturn, was so interesting because it had a atmosphere around it, and we wanted to go see what the surface of Titan looked like, because we knew it had a lot of liquid on it, and that liquid turns out to be liquid methane. So they had to divert it, and that meant to go to Titan, and that meant they couldn't go to Uranus and Neptune with Voyager 1. That was sort of a mistake they wish they could do over, because when they got to Titan, it was a shroud like smog dense atmosphere that we never could see the surface. So, and then the way Voyager 1 was going, it wasn't going to go by any of the other planets or asteroids or anything else. So, Voyager 2 did go to Uranus in 1987 and Neptune in 1989. So, this is the only time we've seen close up pictures of it. All right. And that is Uranus on the left, Neptune on the right. They do look very different. They're about the same size, about 30,000 miles across. Huh. Earth and Venus are about the same size, about 8,000 miles across. Now, as we explore the universe with the Hubble telescope and now the Webb telescope, we know of more than 5,000 planets orbiting nearby stars. That's 5,000 or more exoplanets, we call them, orbiting other stars. Well, as in our solar system, the small rocky bodies are closest to the sun, and the big giant planets, Jupiter is about 80,000 miles across, Saturn about 70,000, and these two about 30,000. These are in the outer areas. Well, you know what? We're the only solar system we've found that has it like that. Other solar systems we've found, the large planets, gaseous planets or ice planets, are closest to their parent star. Some of those stars aren't as hot as ours, but that's a real bewildering thing. Do they form close to their star and then get flung further out, like we think Neptune did, or not? It's just, that's why we study this and need to understand more about what's going on in our solar system. Winds at Neptune, I said, are the fastest in the solar system, up to 3,000 miles an hour. It is 350 degrees below zero on the cloud tops. Guess what? Though it's closer to the sun, Uranus is colder and closer to 400 below zero. We don't know why, though Uranus is almost 800 million miles closer to the sun than Neptune. We don't know why. Let's see. What else are we going to talk about as I see the pictures here? Both those spacecraft had on them the golden record, complete with a phonographic needle. All right. And you might be Googling what is a phonographic needle, okay, if you're under 40 years old. But these actually are grooved that have photographs inside of them. This is a major look at alien creatures would understand what's going on here. We're trying to show them where this spacecraft come from. There is some signature, radioactive signature things there that they would have on there to that they, if they understood, if they were intellectual like us, they would understand the physics and so forth that's on this that we're trying to convey there. So let me see if I can bring up our program here. Oh, not yet. So what's going on there? Okay. There we go. This was the brainchild of Carl Sagan. They're actually affixed to the spacecraft themselves. And if I'm not going to bring that up, all right, for some reason, Marty, I'm not bringing up our YouTube channel here. We do have guests on watching today, don't we, Marty?
We do. No comments.
Okay, no comments. Bored them to death already on Jupiter, on Neptune. Now, I'm sure, I know y'all enjoy some of this. At one point in time, when it passed beyond Neptune, Carl Sagan had the thought, and he's passed away, died of leukemia over 10 years ago. He said, you know, let's take a picture of back at the solar system, and here's all the panels. That's Neptune, Uranus, S for Saturn, the sun, all right? And then these are the other, and the second from the left is the Earth, all right? The pale blue dot of the Earth as it was photographed on the bottom here several times. Those are pictures of the Earth as seen from about 2 million miles away. So, yeah, trying to get my live YouTube on here and don't know why we're not doing that there. So let's do it this way. There we go. Oh, there it was. All right. So Neptune is in the morning sky near the planet Jupiter right now, and you're not going to see it. You can't even see Uranus unless you know where to look with binoculars. Uh, Galileo Galilei observed the planet Neptune. All right, my phone's going off here, and that's a board member, Bonnie, calling me Marty. uh, Bonnie, don't you know we're doing Stay Curious at 4 o'clock? But I'll give you a call back there. Several astronomers throughout history have seen Uranus and Neptune before they were discovered. They just thought they were a star. Okay. The Neptune was actually discovered by mathematics in 1846. A man named Gall takes credit for it, but there was also a German that had the same calculations, and that's very interesting. John, it was predicted independently by John Adams and Urban Le Verrier, and the German Johann Galli was the one to finally spy it on there. So it's quite a little detective story worth reading. Several books on how Neptune was discovered. And then what do we name it in 1846? What do we name Neptune? All right. Well, we named Uranus after the god of the skies. Okay. So Neptune was the god of the um, icy worlds, and so of the oceans, of the water. Of course, you know, Neptune is the god of the water. So it became that, and then all of the satellites discovered around Neptune have themes, names of oceanic mythology on there. That is about the best photograph you can get from a backyard telescope of Neptune, okay? And John Borelli says the rocket chaser, he's been off the grid for 6 weeks. Wondered where you were, John, and he wishes his condolences to Karen. Tommy Usiak saying good afternoon. And Carlton, glad that you're getting better. We need to get Charlie back for Shuttle Fest. You're right about that, Steve Jokums. And we can probably do that today. And hi, little Mia. Mia's watching with Dave Stange today, his granddaughter. So thank you for watching, Mia. Mark appreciates you telling everybody at daycare to watch Stay Curious, okay? Thank you, Dean Babcock. He loves my Forza Ferrari hat there, okay? Thank you, Steve Jokums, a lot. Doug Forrest is on there, and Dean Babcock, and hello, good morning, Cliff Watson, having a brekkie of eggs and probably not grits, but they're in Pomona, Australia. So having some fun today talking about what I love to talk about, astronomy. That is, again, really, if you could get that shot from your backyard, that's really good. Of Neptune, you're just going to barely make out the disk, and yes, it's got this bluish tint to it. Why? Well, because it is mostly hydrogen, helium, and a lot of methane, and methane has a bluish green color to it. There's some Neptune facts. Due to the great distance, it's not very bright, but the great distance of it puzzles us. How could it have such a dynamic weather system? It is really, it's got clouds that we see, like in this illustration, that were photographed by the Voyager. This is Triton, one of the most interesting in this, objects in the solar system. It's a little bit, it's larger. It's almost the size of the planet Mercury. Okay, it's about 3,000 miles across. Marty, when planetary astronomers look at a body in space, the first thing they want to notice is the number of craters that are on the body. Okay, and I'm going to take this off because I have it right here. So you see the cantaloupe part of it at the top. How many craters you see on this? Not very many, right? What does that mean? That means the surface has been replenished in recent time. Now, recent time in solar system geology of a 5 billion year old solar system is 1 billion years. That's recent time, okay? 500,000 years is like yesterday. So this surface has been scrubbed something, because we know objects hit everything in the solar system. Just look at the moon, look at Mercury, and look at other bodies that do not have atmospheres where the meteoroids can burn up into meteors and land on the ground as meteorites. So even though there's objects hitting this over the last millions of years, the surface has replenished itself. And then they go, what the heck are these dark areas here? All right, going on. Now, this is the only photographs we've ever had of this, all right, in 1989. What these are vents of volcanoes, cryovolcanoes, cryo being frozen, cold volcanoes are emitting. This is a whole landscape of volcanoes erupting on the moon Triton of Neptune. Isn't that amazing to know that? Yes, you think it is, but that's what we're looking at. Hardly any craters there. So this is a very active surface, yet 3 billion miles away from the sun, where sunlight takes 4 hours to reach you. The sun would look just like the bright planet Venus does in the western horizon. You look to the west tonight, that bright star is Venus. It's going to get higher and higher. That's about how the sun would look from Neptune. All right, so there have been a lot of proposals for NASA and ESA spacecraft to go back there. The journey is 8 to 10 years, and then you've got over a decade of developing a spacecraft. But there was things called Neptune Orbiter was canceled, Odonis, Triton Hopper. ESA wanted to put a lander on this surface of Triton and have it bounce around. Trident is another wanting to do a flyby of Neptune in 2038, yet the funding's not been put there. So I teased you on Facebook that Neptune has diamonds and maybe the planet Mercury. Yeah, we're pretty sure of this. The diamond market will just fall, like if anyone brings this back. Why? When you increase pressure on anything like our Earth's oceans, all that weight of the water at 8 pounds per gallon is on top of you at the bottom and will crush you, okay? That's why we're amazed that all those little illuminated fish and stuff are down there and not crushed. But they're designed that way. So you've got the crushing atmosphere. When you go closer into an atmosphere, you increase the temperature. That's just the physics of things being compressed. And the carbon is squeezed out, and from carbon crushed comes diamonds, and they know for a fact that there must be a layer of diamonds close to the core. We know there is a solid body inside these gaseous planets of Jupiter, of Saturn, and Uranus and Neptune. We're not so sure about that with Saturn and Jupiter. Okay, they may have a molten core in there, but this also has an electromagnetic system and a magnetism over 30 times that of Earth. So diamonds in the sky, just like the Beatles sang about on Sgt. Pepper. And we believe that they can be in the planet Mercury, the first planet, just a little bit bigger than our moon. It is a lot of carbon. In fact, it being so close to the sun, I think I said moon, it's about the size of our moon, being so close to the sun, that solar radiation has just stripped it bare. Yet there's a lot of craters on Mercury because there's no atmosphere and there's no surface being resurfaced. Okay, but we know that deep inside of Mercury, there's probably a 10-mile thickness layer of diamonds. Imagine that, all you jewelry fans out there. Here again is an illustration to show you the surface of the volcanic crust, the diamond layers caused by molten outer layers being crushed, it's cooling off, the carbon's extracted out, you have a layer of diamonds, just like you hear synthetic diamonds are made like that way. Well, there's a Webb telescope view of Neptune. Again, we're always puzzled by seeing these active regions, those light regions with the bands around them. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moons visible of its 20-some moons. Let me see what I want to talk about. This is Neptune has rings, as you see around there. They are not detected visually because they're so faint. They're actually clusters, arcs, and just areas of debris that are called rings going around there. All right, they're not. They're as Saturn has one sheet of several regions of rings. We don't see that in any of the other planets. Earth may have had a ring very briefly, like a ropey ring like this. We do know that Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune do have rings of debris around them. Is that left over from the planet being created itself? Is it leftovers of moons that weren't created? Is it a moon that disintegrated in some way in a collision? This is why we explore. And there you go again, an idea that the rings are embedded in a bunch of debris. They're all named after ocean gods. They're so very interesting part of astronomy. There's so many areas of astronomy to study, and this is one of them, the rings around outer bodies there. And again, Triton is not very close to Neptune. That's why it's so big. But they're theorized that Triton may have been captured by Neptune as it flew by, because as we look at, and I didn't put an example in there, but as we look at Triton above me here, it has a lot of similarities to Pluto. And they wondered if Pluto and Triton were kind of dual planets out there in what we call the Kuiper Belt, and that something flung Triton near Neptune and it grabbed it up. Here's something interesting. 3 billion miles away, this is showing you activity on Jupiter, on Neptune, that matches the solar cycle of every 6 years is a peak and a valley. All right. Every 11 or 12 years, the sun is very active, and we're going through that active stage right now. And when the sun is more active, there's more activity on Neptune's clouds. Even from 3 billion miles away, the sun is influencing the furthest planet. And there's perfect evidence of it. At the bottom there over here is a low, hardly no sunspots at all on the sun 6 years ago. No activity on Neptune. Now we have over 100 sunspots on the sun every day. A lot of activity going on. There is the beautiful photograph of Neptune taken by Voyager 2. Of course, enhanced and so forth. They actually call that the dark spot, the black spot. It's sort of like the red spot of Jupiter, where it's a cyclone that has been going on underneath that cloud belt in some fashion. And then you see the different layers of high altitude is white, and those clouds coming off of the black spot. We don't know what causes those, but we want to. So here we are out at the ends of the solar system saying goodbye to Neptune 45 years ago in 1989, or 35 years ago, I mean. So very, very interesting time that we don't have many explorers going to the outer planets, and I think we need to, as technical as we've gotten with robots, to explore with robots like this is what we need to do. That is, by the way, Neptune photographed on the right by Voyager 2, and Neptune photographed on the left by the Hubble telescope at the best images that it could get. So still not too bad, all right, getting on there. And boy, we thank everybody for watching today. We hope that some aliens will grab that record and put it on a 33 RPM alien record player and figure out what we humans are all about. There's pictures on there of birds and bees and flowers and trees, and dignitaries of the world are talking in different languages and stuff like that. I think they have Johnny B. Good's Chuck Berry, a rock and roll song on there too, as well as Mozart and all that sort of stuff. So Uh, Thank you all for watching today. I know you're going to enjoy a program about the rocket renaissance on our future Friday tomorrow with Josh Dujan and Rick Powis. I'm looking forward to seeing these gentlemen talking about our backyard rocket company via space. So until tomorrow, let me give a tip of a cap again there, Marty, to Steve Jokums. God bless you, brother. This is really one of the fanciest hats. Fits my head, even though it's got your DNA on it, Steve. Thank you so much, my friend. And I mean it truly, like I said at the beginning. The friendships that Marty, Winkel, and I have made through this program are invaluable and everlasting. And I thank you all for supporting the American Space Museum and getting to know myself and Marty personally. So until tomorrow, when we're talking via space, and probably watching qualifying at Monza. No, it's practice tomorrow. I'm sorry. Qualifying Saturday. Anyway, until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying thank you. We will see you again to bridge the space between us.